Hi, this is John Cullen. Welcome to another I Am John Cullen podcast.
An interesting psychological phenomenon is known as the ostrich effect, sticking your head in the sand. Maybe you're familiar with this. So many people are rather nervous of opening their gas bill or perhaps opening the envelope with their exam results in it. And even stock traders we know are less likely to log on and examine their portfolio performance when they know the market's been going down compared to when they know it's going up. So people have an aversion to discovering simple facts about what's going on around them. One needs to confront some realities and think about what to do about them. The ostrich effect will lead you to avoid doing this, and that's something we need to combat. And once you're aware of the fact that this is a general phenomenon, it's not just your own personal issue, maybe you can take strength from that and think about how to cope with it in a more empowering way.
The process that we follow as we go through our research is very defined. It's very rigorous. We begin with, can we solve the crime if we don't fully understand what happened? In other words, can we solve for who if we don't understand what? And if you think the answer to that is yes, we can solve the crime even if we don't have all the facts. We go to, would it matter if the shooters were not on the ground, like MS-13, for example, but were flying in helicopters? Would that make a difference? We then begin asking questions like, is there video or photographic evidence of the window in 32-135 being broken, or is there any evidence of muzzle flash coming from that room? And if so, where? Which video on YouTube? At what timestamp do we see that? We just don't see any of that. So we follow this rigorous process, and the background for all of this is you have to understand the locale. You have to understand the location. At the southernmost end, we have Maverick Helicopters and Signature Flight Services. Then we have the Harley-Davidson dealer, and across the street from the Harley-Davidson dealer, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department headquarters. And then as we go a little further north, we get to the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, and that's on the left-hand side. Las Vegas Boulevard right down the middle there, and then we get up to the venue. So the venue's on the right-hand side of Las Vegas Boulevard, that's east. You see the Luxor and the Delano now on the west-hand side of Las Vegas Boulevard, and this is our venue. And then you see the Tropicana on the eastern side of Las Vegas Boulevard, and just past the Tropicana you see the MGM Grand. Excalibur across the street from the Tropicana. That's the general vicinity. Mandalay Bay, the venue, Luxor, Tropicana. That's Mandalay Bay on flight radar. That's the venue itself on flight radar. That's the Tropicana. That's the Luxor. That's Sundance Helicopters headquarters. That's where they land. Right there are the fuel tanks. But where we're watching is back here. We're looking for air traffic in this vicinity. And from 5:05 p.m., 5:06 p.m., there's nothing going on back here other than UAL 599 coming in and touching down. And it touches down at exactly the same time as Sundance does. All right, so we're going to pay attention to a very tight period of time, 10:04, 10:05 p.m. 10:04, 10:05, and 10:06. United Airlines 599 is on approach. We're going to watch UAL 599 very closely compared to the two Sundance helicopters, and when do the two Sundance helicopters land, and when does UAL 599 land? So when are they all touching down? And what we see happening is at 10:05 p.m., UAL 599 and Sundance touch down simultaneously. So they both cease forward movement. And it's 10:05 p.m. In one of our earlier videos, we showed you aircraft in this airspace near the Luxor. We showed what we believe is muzzle flash coming from south of the Luxor, which would be left side of the Luxor. And then we showed you aircraft that passes through the beam, heads north, and then comes back down in altitude. And we'll take a closer look at that now. So now is that gunfire? Is that muzzle flash coming from a helicopter that's just south of the Luxor? And then now we're going to see aircraft heading through the beam, heading north. And let's track this aircraft and see where it's going. Watch it closely. What makes this bizarre is that there's no aircraft in this vicinity on flight radar. There's no one back here. So what are we seeing if there's nothing on radar? We believe we're seeing aircraft that have deliberately turned off their transponders so that they are not visible on radar. And if they're not visible, that means they're stealth. And that would explain why we see them here, but we don't see them on flight radar. I believe we're seeing aircraft on this side of the venue. So west of the venue, I think we're seeing at least 2 aircraft. This one that's north of the Luxor and the one we saw a moment ago that was south of the Luxor. I don't think those are the same aircraft. So if there's 2 aircraft on this side of the venue, that's kind of scary. As I was assembling this video and zooming in on these aircraft to take a closer look, something jumped out at me, something I hadn't noticed before. So this is a new break. This is new information that we haven't seen before. A few months ago, we published some videos that asked, is this an infrared laser that we're seeing scoping the back of the stage? Sure looks like an infrared laser, like a Wilcox Raptor, and that would be pointed from above, similar to the laser pointing system that we see targeting the SUV. When we were looking, we found this. We were looking for the helicopters in the sky, and as we're looking for the helicopters, this catches my eye, and I'm like, what is this? And it looks like somebody was screwing around, aiming at the Sphinx. Take a look, tell me what you think. I think it looks a lot like the infrared laser that we saw on the back of the stage, right? I think this looks very similar, just at a different spot, different location, same concept. Is this the Wilcox Raptor infrared laser? I think it is. And that's where the video ends. So let's take a quick look at that Wilcox Raptor one more time.
And we combine that with a visible laser, infrared laser, and flood.
So as you can see, it's a Class 1 IR pointer. Again, this is a Raptor ES, not the full power Raptor. So this is completely civilian legal. So this is pretty much just standard 0.7 milliwatt, just like every other Class 1 IR illuminator or IR pointer out there. But because this is the ES model, it also has the infrared laser rangefinder.
So on the west side of the venue near the Luxor, we see potentially 2 aircraft behind the Luxor at about the same time that the 2 Sundance aircraft are coming in for a landing. And yet there's nothing on Flight Radar 24 in that vicinity. So who are these aircraft and what are they doing? We were just focusing on the west side of the venue behind the Luxor, and we see these two aircraft over there. Right as Sundance is coming in for a landing, we see these other two things behind the Luxor, one to the north, one to the south. Now we're going to focus our attention to the other side, facing east towards the airport, and we're going to ask the same question. What do we see besides these two Sundance helicopters coming in to land? What else is going on in this airspace? And on flight radar, there's nothing. But when we go to the eyewitness video, we see something astounding. So here are the two Sundance returning. They come in at 5:04, 5:05, and they touch down. At the same time they touch down, UAL 599 touches down at the same exact time. So once they're down, that's it. There's no other aircraft back here near the airport at 5:05 after the second Sundance touches down. But when we go to the eyewitness video, we see something very, very different. So let's take a look at that and see what these anomalies are. This new footage that we stumbled across was filmed at the exact same moment. So these are the opening shots of the attack, and this is during any old bar stool. So same exact moment, all synchronized. And now we're going to look the other way, towards the fuel tanks, towards the airport, and we're going to see the two Sundance helicopters come in and land. And we're going to see some other things happening besides the two Sundance helicopters coming in to land. So let's take a closer look at what's happening on the other side of the menu. We already see two suspicious aircraft on this side. Now let's look at the other side and see what we see over there. So we see the two Sundance helicopters come in and land, but that's it. That's all that's on Flight Radar 24. There's no other aircraft in this vicinity. These two are accounted for. Two took off, two returned. We hear two of them on the radio talking to air traffic control. And two return. So now who is this third aircraft? This aircraft comes flying in, and we don't know who this is. They're unidentified. But it gets worse. We now have found new footage that's even clearer than this footage. And with this aircraft flying in, added to the footage we're about to show you, we believe that there might be multiple aircraft on this side of the venue. Let's take a closer look.
There's
Are these aircraft on approach? Are these jets on approach? Well, we saw UAL 599 touched down right as Sundance touched down. So it's not UAL 599. So if it's any other jet on approach, it's about 9 miles out in order for it to line up with the runway and where this camera was. So it's about a little over 9 miles away. Is that what we're seeing? Or another jet on approach? We don't believe so. We don't think we're seeing a jet 9 miles away on approach. So, and we don't see any jets 9 miles away on approach on flight radar. So there's nobody out there.
An interesting psychological phenomenon is known as the ostrich effect, sticking your head in the sand. Maybe you're familiar with this. So many people are rather nervous of opening their gas bill, or perhaps opening the envelope with their exam results in it. And even stock traders, we know, are less likely to log on and examine their portfolio performance when they know the market's been going down compared to when they know it's going up. So people have an aversion to discovering simple facts about what's going on around them. One needs to confront some realities and think about what to do about them. The ostrich effect will lead you to avoid doing this, and that's something we need to combat. And once you're aware of the fact that this is a general phenomenon, it's not just your own personal issue, maybe you can take strength from that and think about how to cope with it in a more empowering way.